go ahead and get started here. So want to thank everybody for joining us today from the partner community. Density, we're super excited to have you here and joining us for the Density Partner Program 101 webinar. Kick things off today, I want to do a couple of brief introductions. Introducing myself, I am new to the Density team. Myself and Mr. James Johnston are here as your new dedicated partner channel team. Couple fun facts about myself. Background with Cisco Meraki, where I was fortunate enough to help start the channel business over there. I'm an avid baseball coach, and I'm an even larger bourbon enthusiast. My counterpart here, James Johnston. If you can't tell, you'll be able to tell here in a few minutes as he walks you through everything that is Density. He is a Canadian. He's a former Density AE, and he is an avid hockey fan who's actually has family ties to one of the best all-time Canadian hockey players that has an arena named after him. I'll let him tell you a little bit more about that maybe here before he gets started or at the end. But having said that, I'm going to hand it over to James. Thank you again. We're going to take some Q&A. Let's look at the bottom panel here. If you have questions, there is a Q&A tab. Please submit your questions there. If we don't answer them throughout the presentation, we'll get to as many as we can at the end and then follow up with everybody afterwards. Thank you for joining us. Look forward to speaking with you here in a little bit.
Great, thanks very much, David, and welcome everyone to our session today. As David mentioned, yes, I'm an avid hockey fan and have ties to the NHL. My father-in-law used to play, I think it was almost 14 years, and then in the NHL for Detroit Red Wings and the Minnesota North Stars. So to kick us off today, quick agenda items. We're going to take a look at the background for Density, so high-level overview, how we generate the data, set up an installation, and then we're going to take you on a platform demo and partner portal tour, followed by Q&A session. So to get us started, Density was started back in 2014. So what we look at for organizations, so our partners, for our customers, is a cost-effective and safety and security solution that will help organizations understand how their spaces are used. We were started in Syracuse, New York. We now have our corporate office located in San Francisco, where our manufacturing facility resides in Syracuse. And the picture on the right-hand side of your screen, that's some of our team there building our sensors. So I'd like to be upfront with all partners and potential customers. Density is not a camera, so there is no personal identifiable information that's ever captured as part of our platform. Density was designed to measure real-time space occupancy, just not your entrances and exits. We do calculate and count those. As well, we offer a modern analytics and an infrastructure. So in terms of, for partners and for clients, you can view the information on your desktop, mobile application, as well as via API. In terms of high-level use cases that we see, we look for, clients come to us for health and safety. They will want physical security. So when we look at tailgating options, as well as to understand how their portfolio is optimized, how those spaces are being used. One of the big questions that we get here at Density is, well, what does the sensors look like in a customer environment? So as you can see here, we have 3 sensors installed. And I'm just going to highlight here the field of view. So when the sensors are placed above a threshold, we've got our field of view. That's what you're seeing in terms of the blue, the highlights here. On the next screen, we take a look at the raw data of Density. So again, we're not a camera, no personal identifiable information. In the raw, we see the outline of a real person as they approach and are going to cross through the threshold. So on the image on the left-hand side of your screen, we can see an individual, we see a door, we see the door handles and the door hinge. On the right-hand side is our machine learning. So we've gone through and we've trained our sensor for the space in which it's installed. That way, we're going to clean it up to make it easier to count those individuals as they enter or exit your space. When looking at other technology in the marketplace, we suggest everyone ask for the raw data. Take a look at it. What does that look like? Do you see the real person before the image is blurred? With density, we're privacy first approach. That's why we simply see an outline of a person as they cross through the threshold. Another big question that comes to us is what information does density actually capture? What's transmitted to your cloud service? Density will capture a timestamp, an event, and a doorway. So we'll take a look at that date and time. Was it an entrance? Was it an exit? And then which doorway did that take place at? That way, all information rolls into the platform so you can get your real-time occupancy of your individual spaces, or you can look at your entrances and exits. We've got a snapshot, I guess, here of some of our customer base. So we have multitude of use cases ranging from higher education to corporate to gyms. So we probably have seen every use case, every type of scenario out there. So when you're working with us as partners, as well as with our sales team, we can help align to different strategies. If you have questions, then we can dive deeper into to use cases. The next section that we're going to lead into here is safe by density. So this is a newer functionality part of our platform where we are helping organizations deal with not only COVID, but with multiple situations that we've seen for a safe workplace. So we work with teams like HR, with facilities, with workplace, legal, IT. So we will look at, operations. How are the spaces being cleaned? Do you require additional cleaning? Are you adhering to physical distancing and occupancy counts within a space? So if you are limiting the number of people to your building, your floor, to your rooms, are you adhering to those new government regulations? How are you communicating this information to your clients or to your customers? So communication is key. That's where you can use real-time data as well as historical data to come back and say, okay, this is what we're seeing real time versus this is the historical information, which all ties back into the overall operations. And we've heard from some of our customers who are doing additional testing, so thermal testing for temperatures at the door. They're looking at doing contact tracing. So that's something clients are doing. Density is not. We're focused on the 4 key features of the operations, your physical distancing, communications, and then using that data to relay it back to your customers or to your employees. So part of our overall solution for safe by density is the displays. So we can do an analytic screen where we're going to show the percentage full of an individual floor or a space within that floor. We are looking at real-time alerts that can be notified to mobile phone, whether it be a text alert, if it's through the mobile application itself, if you're using our API and you're integrating us into other visualizations tools, or if you're integrating us into other screen setups. There's a multitude of ways to get those instant alerts, plus the analytics that's part of our platform. The other ones that we have, there's a few more examples for safe display. So when we're looking at a breakout room or a kitchen area, we can display on a tablet or monitor outside of that door, is it currently full? What's the approximate wait time before a person leaves before I can enter in for a coffee, etc.? That's a great example that customers are implementing. I would say probably our number one ask right now is restroom use cases. How can we display what's going on with the restroom? Do we need additional cleaning? Do we need to have a queue outside for the restroom? This information can be displayed on screen through a web URL. If you want to integrate us into other tools through the API, certainly an option here. And then we also have the options of, some of our customers, we've got cafe customers who are visualizing density outside. Right at the door, we have this for grocery stores as well, retail stores. They want to be able to display to their end customer. This is, we're currently full. Here's an estimated wait time with a message here. If everything was a good to go, we would see a green screen. available here with the lettering of go. With the safe alerts by density, so in addition to us counting every entrance and exit, we can take a look and say, okay, within your threshold or within your area for this particular building or room, etc., what is your occupancy limit? Are you setting it to 13 today? Because that is the most that you can fit in there by square footage. Different ways that you can configure that. If you want to do it simply by a threshold number, then you can start receiving text alerts to say, okay, you're now max occupancy, you're at 18, your target capacity was 13, you're over. So that can show up for text messaging, email notification, as well as push notifications to certain staff members. As well, you can view the information on your smartphone or tablet, taking a look at the analytics. You can also view the information here based on your laptop or desktop computer. So we can dive into the analytics when we're looking at occupancy and people per square feet. If you want to look at overcapacity, so if you have certain problem locations within your building or on your floor, you can also have information display for facilities. So if we want to take a look at, should a particular conference room be cleaned more based on, usage, and then you can, of course, have your historical occupancy data. So if you needed to go back through for certain audits, health audits, etc., that information is all retained within Density. A new feature that we're releasing, I'm going to say within the next few weeks, is going to be usage-based cleaning. So we're going to have hotspots that are heavily used within organizations as folks return to work. We want to ensure that those spaces are safe for them. Cleaning staff can get reminders to notify them that conference room A, in this example, it's had 2 meetings, it needs to be sanitized. If this is set up for multiple conference rooms or multiple spaces within the floors, then we can monitor and track what was that usage like to notify the cleaning team that they require, deep cleaning, or maybe if a space wasn't used at all during the day, then they can skip over and pay attention to other areas. So this is going to help teams reduce their operating expenses. We're going to avoid, cleaning spaces that are not needed. It's going to be a fantastic option for cleaning staff. So again, this is in release in the next couple of weeks that we're going to have new messaging come out around this. And then when we get into API, so we know from partners, we've had a lot of conversations around, how can Density be used elsewhere? So if we want to integrate, or if you wanted to integrate us into room booking, so if we're looking at Robin, if we're looking at Condeco, Slack, calendaring options, so if you want to pull in, from room booking or from calendars information that way. If you want to look at deep analytics, if you want to integrate us into lighting and cooling conditions, multitude of ways our REST API can be used. Just ask us. I'm sure we have documentation through our API that if you haven't already reviewed it, certainly take a look there, and we can share those links after the webinar as well for our API. Our next section we're going to touch base on is the setup and installation of the devices. So this should be familiar to most of our partners here on the call today. Our sensors are typically powered power over Ethernet. So we'll have the hardwired power internet connectivity that way. They can be set up so you can plug them into a power outlet as well as connect via Wi-Fi. And we've had questions around 4G. We do have an option that we have a partnership where we can, get, I guess their cradle points is the technical term for it, can connect into the devices. So for any of you partners who do offer a solution like that, this can be a value add-on for your clients. So we can do the cradle points that way and then connect 4G LTE. At the bottom of your screen, there's 4 installation options in total. We have our standard wall mount. followed by the top of frame mount, a ceiling mount, and adhesive. So if you're in multiple locations dealing with all glass or all metal environments, adhesive mount would be a perfect solution for you. Next up is our threshold. So a single density sensor can cover a span to a maximum of 8 feet wide by 10 feet tall. We will certainly take a look at measurements. So we have on a next screen coming up is our pre-installation assessment guide, where we have a grid laid out to say if your doorways are, as an estimated 6 feet wide by 7.5 feet tall, then the sensor should be installed at approximately 9 feet 3 inches. So we've got very detailed calculations for all partners to take a look at that information when you're scoping and you're planning installations. Take a look at that guide. That can help identify it. As well, we do have an option where we can take a look at wider entryways or doorways. It's called multi-point install, where we would evaluate that, evaluate the situation with you on each individual case to see what would be the best option for the end client. So when you have situations like that, please let us know and we'll work directly with you to find the best possible solution and installation points. So if you have not taken a look at our pre-installation assessment guide on our website, through our documentation, as well as on the partner portal, please do so. I reference this, I think, on the majority of my calls. So anyone who has met with me in the past month, you've probably seen this guide or had me reference it. It's a go-to for me. The next coverage point here is our hardware and our software subscription. So we do offer a 5-year hardware warranty, accuracy validation, firmware, software updates. So we have a complete listing here. Items that's not included we be our PoE injectors, the premium mounting kits, cabling, and device installation. So for anyone out there who is going to do all of the installs yourself, or for your clients, and of course, to match that out or map it out based on the client needs. And then the next part of it that we offer here is through our software subscription model, with the text alerts, the email reporting, the list goes through. I won't read all the details, but you do have your unlimited dashboard users, mobile users, API. So anything that your customers would need through the software, they have access to it, whether it is the dashboard on desktop computer, mobile application, or through the API. So next up, we're going to switch over to the portal. So we're going to take a look at our software, and then we'll jump through to the partner portal where we take a look at a lot of great details. So I'm just going to take a moment here and switch screens. And hopefully everyone is seeing my screen here. Thumbs up if you can see it. Perfect. All right, so landing on the first tab here is Spaces. Spaces is your high-level overview of your hierarchy or your structure for your individual clients. So in this instance here, we have 4 headquarters set up. So we have our campuses set up throughout here, but I'm going to use Ames for today. So we have our headquarters set up, our first floor, second floor, our rooms within our second floor, third floor, fourth, and our cafe. So this is your tree structure where you can see everything that's part of this portfolio. Moving to the middle of your screen is your high-level overview of your target capacity versus your legal capacity. So as you return to work safely, you can adjust these numbers on the back end, so you're always in adherence, whether it changes on a weekly or a monthly basis. In the middle of your screen here is quick view or quick reports, where we can take a look at your daily entrances, your entrances per hour. There's a lot of information within here. I won't cover all the details today. We can certainly do that at another point in time. But if we wanted to look at raw events, they're also listed in here. Within the time segments that we have, we look at the entire 24-hour cycle. Depending on client needs, of course, they can go in, or you could go in and set up for them the working hours. So if it's Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, if there's shift work, etc., you can drill into the information here for the time segments as well as your date range. So you can go in and take a look at week to date, month to date, etc., across the board. On the right-hand side of your screen, we have live events. So taking a look at Ames HQ, we can see that there's currently 58 people in this particular space or zone. We are going to look at the streaming information coming across your screen. So the blue dots are indicating entrances, gray dots are exits. If you have individuals who are shoulder to shoulder, or if they have entered a space from 2 different doors at the exact same timestamp, we're going to note it with 2. So 2 individuals have entered the space at the same time. We can take a look at your daily occupancy here, your doorways, operating hours, and if you have activated and using room booking information, that would appear down here for you as well. Moving along here to analytics, this is the high level or the more in-depth review, I should say, of the data. So whether you're looking at, conference room planning, if you're looking at an office summary, meeting rooms, there's multiple data points, multiple ways that you can go in and set up the information. So if you wanted to look at the individual conference rooms within a particular floor, you can certainly do so. So capturing the data here, we can look at the occupancy, the utilization, available capacity, entrances and exits. So you can drill into any one of these. You can then take a look at your function. So in terms of function, what space do we want to view? Do we want to take a look at the conference room versus the office versus meeting rooms, the cafes, etc.? We can drill into those individual spaces, look at them as a whole. We can look at your time frame. So do we want to look at it overnight? Do we want to set up specific time ranges within here? Maybe you're only interested in Monday through Friday, so you can turn off the weekends. Reapply the filters here. It's going to refresh the data so you can drill into your working time frame. And then we can, of course, look at your day, your hour, and by 15-minute increments. In terms of dashboards, at a high level, multitude of reports that we can see within here. So we're going to take a look at, just at a very high level here, square feet per person. We can take a look at our conference room information, our visits, capacity, the hourly ins and outs of the individual spaces. Within the dashboard itself, you can come in here and click on Create New Report. There's a multitude of reports in here, so depending on client needs and KPIs that they're trying to measure and understand their spaces, we most likely have a report here for it. We can make suggestions on how other clients will do this in the future or have done it in the past. So if you have questions, definitely let your account executive know or us here in Partners, and we can help guide you in terms of the reports. The next section we have is live. So at any given point in time, you can come into the live view, take a look at your individual spaces here. So whether it is an entire building, a conference room, floor level, etc., you can see in real time your entrances and your exits. So if we have groups of people entering a space or exiting, are they individuals coming through? So a lot of information resides in this screen for quick viewing. The last section that we have as part of the platform here is safe display. So when we take a look at the displays for the information, you're going to have your individual rooms set up. So we can take a look at what does that capacity look like. Is it 6 people? Is it 9? Is it 15, 200, etc.? So this can be visually displayed on a dashboard, mobile browser, web browser, if you're putting it on a screen. So here at a high level, we're taking a look at the breakout room. Currently, there's nobody in there. We're good to go. You can have your messaging here on the right-hand side. So if we do want to get into white labeling, we hear that a lot lately, asking for additional logos to be added in to coincide with density. We can certainly add that information in here. In the near future, our teams are working on the option that the end user or the end client would be able to come in here and make the modifications on their own. Right now, where this is more or less a beta product, our teams are doing the configurations for everybody. So that is really it for in terms of the demo. We do have the functionality of support up here, the admin of going through and setting up your spaces, and then managing individual profiles. So next up, we're going to jump over to the partner portal. And David, did you want to take it away?
Absolutely. I hope everybody enjoyed that. We were getting some great questions that we're going to get to here in a minute, but very quickly, we wanted to go through the partner portal, which you will all soon have access to if you don't already. Going across the top from left to right there, you're going to see, well, starting on this great landing page, you're going to see any recent updates that we come out with, announcements that we have. This is going to be your centralized location of anything and everything that is density. If you go over one tab there to the pricing section, you're going to be able to scroll through and not just see the standard partner discount, but if you continue to scroll down, you'll also see what the deal registration would get you. Don't worry, we'll show you here in a minute how you can register all of your opportunities. Somebody did ask a great question about purchasing demo equipment. We do have a demo kit that we're able to sell, and we do have NFR pricing for that as well. So as you move from left to right up there, going over to installation, James mentioned a whole bunch of great guides. Here's a ton of documents that go into very granular detail. Everything from the unit setup guide to the pre-installation assessment and a quick installation guide. This is going to be a centralized resource once again for the partners that are wanting to take that next step and align with us on installation opportunities as well, whether it's your own or one that we might have a need for that we uncover. As you continue to the right, you then have marketing. This is going to be everything from the live kind of in environment snapshots that you can use. You can download and use these, from the logos to the brochures and events for vertical specific information. And this is going to continue to get built out. We're adding new pieces of collateral. The ability to co-brand is definitely something that's on our list to look at in the future, so you can send out into your own email campaigns. Any specific needs you have, please feel free to reach out to myself or James. We're happy to discuss that. We love doing email campaigns with our partners to help drive business. That's what good partnerships are, aligned partners. And then one of the most important, next tab here, is going to be how do you register an opportunity. We have a very quick form. One thing to note, there is no minimum deal registration amount that we require. So if you think you have an opportunity for density, please submit that information here. We're going to route it automatically to the correct person, and they will reach out to you first. We ask for the end user information for obvious reasons, the size, the estimated count, because we have a multitude of teams internally, and we want to get it routed to the correct person as quickly as possible. And then last, you'll see the contact. This will get updated as well with both James and I's information, but you always have general lines here to where you can reach out and get in contact with anybody at Density. We're here to help. We're here to align with you. You can see on the left-hand side there, I think it opens a separate file. We don't need to go into it right now, but where we do have our territory maps posted as well. So we believe in transparency and alignment from a partnership perspective. So having said that, take a pause here. I think that was the content that we wanted to cover, unless I'm mistaken, James, and we can jump into some of the Q&A. We've been trying to answer them to the best of our ability, but we'll kind of go into them. And I want to introduce Adam Seawall here. I neglected to do so in the beginning. Joined by Adam, our Senior Vice President of Sales. So welcome. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, no problem. I thought I would Zoom bomb this morning and see how the webinar is going. So just want to reiterate our thanks for investing time. Some of you on the line expressed interest in the past several weeks, and we've internally we've been seeing remarkable amounts of demand for the safe solution. And so it's been a hectic couple months for us, but part of the reason that David and James have joined the team and are focused on channel is because we think it's a very important component to our growth and your growth as well. So thanks for making time. We can go through some of these questions. And just before I do, I wanted to set a little bit of context and kind of what we're seeing in the market, specifically around the applications that can do real-time monitoring, alerts when a space gets crowded or becomes unsafe, as companies are, everyone has a heightened sensitivity across about their own personal distance amid some of these COVID challenges. So there's kind of two camps. There's we're reopening and we're bringing people back into the office or back into our stores. We're going to have limited occupancy, so our target occupancy might come down to 20 or 30% of pre-COVID, and gradually kind of open up from there based on federal and state guidelines. And then we have a large segment of our customer base that, compared to some of the technology and finance and other kind of companies that have corporate office space, those folks have never worked from home or aren't working remotely. They haven't had the privilege of doing so. So people in warehousing and logistics and all the parts of the economy that have not ceased to function. We're also helping those types of customers as well. So just wanted to set that context. And, I guess, David and James, what works? I'm happy to read through the questions and then we can kind of knock them down. Really great set of questions here. So really appreciate people leaning in here. I guess we'll just start from the top and go from there. So Tyler asked approximately how much training is necessary for each sensor. A really great question. Part of the calibration process, when a sensor comes online, is we take a data sample. So other sensors that you see in the market will say, hey, yeah, we're 98.5% accurate. And what that means is that they had a lab test and they took kind of their high water mark and said, our sensor achieved 98.85% accuracy. Density takes a different approach. We think of accuracy as something that happens over the life of a sensor. And so when a sensor comes online, it does send a data sample to our cloud where it's semi-automatically annotated. And then that kind of training algorithm set, the configuration is selected to be kind of the most accurate for that sensor. And it's pushed down to that sensor to make sure that it's accurate for that particular environment. So that's a very long way of saying typically we need probably several hundred people to come under the sensor over the first several days for us to be able to improve accuracy. And that's the second talking point, which is the sensors are trained over time to deal with different things that come up in their environment. And we see this, again, other sensor technology will get tricked by people walking in different directions, carrying bags and bikes and carts and all of the other types of things that happen in spaces. Density's kind of solved for all of those, and that's how we're able to achieve, 96 to 99% accuracy, in some cases 100% accuracy. And when we report on accuracy, it's accuracy that we're seeing in the field from our sensors, not some sort of lab test. So really good question there. Rupert has a question: how does the solution communicate with a tablet? Currently, it's it's a web-enabled a page that runs off a WebSocket, and so it's constantly publishing new data. So as data changes, it gets updated. We are working with customers and how we integrate it more deeply in some of the systems that are running on in their spaces. And so if you have customers who fit that description, Rupert, definitely reach out. We'd be happy to talk with you more about it. Jamie has a question around: do the display screens communicate with the sensor directly with the cloud? So yeah, just doubling down on that, it communicates via our API. So it's built on our API, which is the cloud. So what we've seen in the market is, I guess people might be asking questions about latency. So if you're doing a round trip to the cloud and back down, what we've seen, it hasn't been a super large issue. If it does become an issue, I think what we could look at doing is doing something that runs off the LAN and streams locally. But for now, it hasn't been a problem. Anthony's asking questions about, we're going to partner with UV light sanitizer companies to create an automated UV light cleaning solution. I haven't thought about it, but we'd love to talk to you about it. That sounds interesting. Just to be clear, the sensor the technology that's running behind the sensor is using active infrared light. And so it's not UV. We can't take temperature, although we get that question a lot. But we can give you a very accurate count of people in space, which many customers are buying because of concerns around personal health and safety. Ryan has a really good question around, and sorry, I'm kind of just running through these guys. Feel free to interrupt me here. Ryan, he says, I see a hyperlink for reset count on the overcapacity alert. Why would I want to use that feature? That's a really good question. We will be transparent about accuracy. We think that that's super important. So let's take an example. Let's say you have a sensor that's 99% accurate. Over the course of a day, it sees 100 people. At the end of that day, even though the sensor is highly accurate, you might see one person in a space where the space is actually empty. And so in those cases, which tend to be edge cases, you can manually reset the count. There are also some things that our engineering team has built in the background, specifically for smaller spaces like restrooms, where the sensor can reset off a max dwell. So assuming that the average person in a bathroom doesn't spend more than 20 minutes there, we can get even closer to accuracy. And again, what we're seeing in the field is that the technology is working. All right, Ben has a question. Since we only have an iOS app at this point, we do have an Android app, so just call that out. Is there a web-based version that any employee can access? How do notifications on occupancy limits, et cetera, work for non-iOS users? We do support SMS and email alerting. I don't think James worked it into the demo, but you can essentially set a trigger and say, all right, the cafeteria pre-COVID had room for 400 people. We're going to bring that down to 100 people. And you can set an alert that notifies your staff when you hit 80 people. So when it's approaching or exceeded that occupancy limit, you can send a notification to your staff. We are talking with some of our access control partners on what locking doors might look like, or giving that option to customers. So you're over capacity, you're going to lock the doors and prevent the problem from compounding itself. Bridget, David, I think you answered Bridget's question around MSRP, correct? Yep. Okay. So Bridget,
sorry.
and feel free to, obviously after this, if you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. We're happy to connect with you. A question about, is there a demo dashboard that we can access? Yep, absolutely. So we can give you a version, a login, follow up with David and James after this to get configured and set up. Really good questions. I'm really enthused by this. Okay, Tyler's just a follow-up question about the training component for sensors. Tyler, we can follow up with you directly and kind of go through your question, but from your standpoint, if you're helping with deployment and installation, really it's about getting the device connected with the right network and power requirements at the right height for that doorway. And then we do have a pre-deployment and a customer success team that can assist in rollouts. And it's mainly about just giving the sensor network access, and we kind of manage the rest. So it's pretty turnkey from both end customer and partner standpoint. Richard has a question about an additional API to allow integration in automation systems such as Crestron, C#, et cetera. Our standard API is a cloud-based REST API. Richard, please email us and we can talk to you about Crestron, because we have had a few conversations around it recently. Be happy to kind of connect with you about that. Okay.
Adam, Chris is asking if we can touch on in-swing door interference and how we help with installation locations.
Yeah, great question, Chris. So, I would say that we've heard feedback that installing a density sensor is easier than a camera. I think that that's true from a network and kind of mounting standpoint, but there are some nuances that you just need to be aware of. And so in most cases, we do have a team that's dedicated to answering these questions and walking you through, especially if you're a new partner. We're very dedicated to help co-sell, because we'd rather have you be successful than just say, okay, cool, go sell this stuff, go after it. And so we have trained algorithms to ignore door arms and other things, but usually what we'd recommend is, install on the other side of the door. You can move it over to the side of the door and still get good good field of view. So there's just some nuances there, and once you understand them, it's pretty easy to start seeing where the best install location is. But that's a really good question. Josh has it, and we'll just keep going because I think if people want to stick around, looks like most people are still here. We'll just try to go through them. We might cut this from the recording, though. I don't know how many people want to sit through lots of questions. So Josh has a question: is it possible to install in the elevator, or is it not designed? So installing sensors and especially cloud, getting network and other things into an elevator environment is, to be completely honest, really complicated, and we don't recommend it. And because our sensor is threshold based, we get installed outside of the elevator bays. And also, if you have a lobby leading into the elevator bank, we're starting to look at how we install there, so you can get a sense of what the traffic flow is and what potential wait times might be. But Tyler, if you have specific questions, we'd love to connect with you and kind of go through your use cases. Let's see. Tyler's a question: if we register a deal, can we continue to be the sole contact for our customer? David, do you want to take that one?
Absolutely. So yes, I mean, we want to work in partnership. It's a co-selling environment, which is where we want to exist. You and Nature are designed to be experts or professionals in a lot of things, and we are experts in one thing, and that is density. So we're here to support your efforts, work and co-sell alongside of you. The goal and the intent is not to take over your client contact or the opportunity as a whole. We're here to help you sell the density solution into your client base. So I'm happy to answer that and have further discussions as needed. David.costa@density.io. I'll post my information in the chat for everybody to take down.
Great. And Michael has two questions. Can you expand on the use case in logistics and warehouse environment? So we've been selling to companies in the meat packing and food processing segment. They have challenges that we're not particularly well set up to solve on their factory line, but we're very well set up to solve in common shared areas. So break rooms, locker rooms, places where employees are coming in. The risk of transmission in locker rooms is very high. They want to give data to their employees so that they don't walk into a crowded break room and put themselves at risk and increase the risk of transmission. As we expand in that segment and launch additional products in the future, there may be some opportunities for us to play in the factory floor and in bigger spaces. And then Michael also has a question about what roadblocks do we run into with IT. So quick talking points on the sensor itself. There are no inbound connections. Data is encrypted in transit at rest. It communicates only via port 443. And there's just a handful of secure URLs or domains that you need to be whitelisted. So from a security posture standpoint, it's kind of designed to be a very robust, scalable IoT device. The only real problems we've seen is if we're talking to a customer who does not want to touch the cloud at all. So they only are going to do on-prem building systems, and there's no network access. In terms of passing InfoSec, you saw the logo slide from James. We work with some of the largest companies in the world that have some of the most aggressive security postures imaginable. So passing InfoSec really isn't the concern. It's whether the buyer doesn't want to give us cloud access. And feel free to drop, of course, if we want to be mindful of time. But these are great questions, so we might as well knock them down. Ethan has a question about: do we partner with existing digital signage platforms in addition to the Safe Display? We're open to conversations, is something I would say, and we do work with a number of names in the space. To be honest, it's still relatively early. We launched probably a month and a half ago. So Ethan, if you have, if you want to chat with us, let us know. We cannot sense air quality, unfortunately. That would be a spectacular feature to add. And Christoph has a question about: can the device be used in different regions? Yes. So the device is PoE Plus. We have a set of recommended PoE adapters for a set of different regions that we support. We ship to 22 different countries and many across Western and even some in Eastern Europe. So Christoph, if you have specific projects that you want to discuss, let us know. What else? David, do you see any that you want to kind of pick off and answer?
Down there at the bottom, I know we've got Scott asking about API integrations, existing ones. I know from a reporting and from a Crestron for the rooms. Yes, we've got multiple existing API integrations, and I believe both the advanced reporting capabilities, if you want to pull that information out, and Tableau and things along those lines, as well as the Crestron and other room systems. Exists today, and it's continuing to expand. It's a product that's designed to be flexible in nature. So yeah, we're looking to continue to expand that portfolio and hear all of the creative ideas that you have as far as how those can be done. For the sake of time here, I know we've gone a little bit over. We still have quite a few people on. Does the network require opening any specific ports? Great question, Ryan. Adam?
Yeah, I mean, it's port 443 is the standard port that we use. We can send along our net. If you go to density.io/docs, DOCS, there's all the technical documentation. It's also available in the portal. And then, from an actual data port standpoint, they're all kind of home runs back to a PoE Plus switch. So it's the 802.3 AT standard. Each device does require a full 30 watts of power. So they have a slightly larger power consumption than, a camera. And that's primarily because it's capturing that depth data at 30 frames a second using that active IR.
Scroll through here. How do we place orders at the partner pricing? Tyler, I love that question. That's a great one. Yeah, so you would work with, you would receive a quote from our AE. So we want to get you in touch with our account executive organization. They would send you a quote, and you would place an order against that directly with us. We do not have any distribution model, so we would sell directly to you as the reseller. Once again, happy to answer any further questions. I'll get to.
Yeah, and maybe, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to get through all of them. Really appreciate everyone's patience, and if we missed your question, please bear with us. You're going to be receiving an email from David and James following this webinar, and so I'd encourage you, if you've got additional questions, to either grab time with them or submit them there. But I think, given that we're at 50 minutes here, we'll give everyone some time back in their day. I just want to say thank you for your interest in Density.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And if you stay on, I'm posting information here. Actually, we can send it out to everybody. All right.
Perfect. We'll follow up with an email for the partner portal and with our contact information.
Thank you, everybody, for the time. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.